What's going on, Raider Nation? It's Emmanuel Jones and other guys. It's your boy Emmanuel Jones here, back at with another NFL record prediction. And this time we'll be doing our NFL record prediction for the Las Vegas Raiders in 2023. I'm going to give you my game analysis, my thoughts to see which games I think the Raiders will win and which games I think the Raiders will lose. So before I give you my NFL prediction for the Las Vegas Raiders in 2023, don't forget to put a thumbs up to like the video, subscribe to the channel for more options, and don't forget to comment down your opinion below to see how good do you think the Raiders are going to be. Do you think they're going to be good? Do you think they're going to make the playoffs? Do you think they're going to win the division, or you think they're going to miss out on the playoffs once again? Let me know in the comment section below what you guys think. Well, here we are. We're going to get started here. So, week 1, they have to play on the road against the Denver Broncos. Obviously, this is a game that can go either way. Now, most people are kind of really picking Denver to win because Denver's at home, and they know. And I kind of feel like I understand Mile High is kind of a hard place to play at, though. But I feel like Denver is going to be dealing with some learning curves because they have a new head coach, Sean Payton. I feel like it's going to be a new culture and all that. And I feel like Sean Payton, he's going to it's going to be some learning curves. And I think the Broncos, they might not be ready for week 1. So even though the game's in Denver, I don't think it matters. I'm going to go with the Raiders here to win this game. I think the Raiders, I just kind of feel like that the Raiders, can find a way. Because I kind of feel like, Denver will be doing learning curves because of a lot of new stuff going on. And I just kind of feel like the Raiders, had played the Broncos pretty tough, though. I think Denver's defense is a little bit overrated. So I feel like the Raiders can do enough to move the ball against them. Especially they got Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow, Michael Mayer, Josh Jacobs. I feel those guys are going to be tough to stop. And I feel like the Raiders' pass rushing duels of Max Crosby, Chandler Jones, Tyree Wilson, I think they can find a way to, confuse this Broncos offensive line because, the Broncos offensive line is not really good. And I feel like Russ is too inconsistent. So I think the Raiders can have success there. So, yeah, it's pretty much why I think the Raiders win that game. Next game, week 2, they have to play versus the Buffalo Bills. Obviously, I got the Bills win this game because the Bills are at home. They got the better quarterback, better coaching staff. They're at home, and they're the more complete team. And also, I don't think your defense matched up well with the Bills' receiving core. So I feel like Diggs and Davis is going to be a problem here. And also, they have a good offensive line that can control their pass rush. And I feel like their defense matched up well with the Raiders pretty good. The Bills have a great secondary. They can handle business against the Raiders receivers. And then their defensive line, can find a way to, give the Raiders offensive line some issues in this game. So, yeah. I think it will be close, though. But I think the Bills, find a lot closer than we expect to. But I think the Bills find a way to win that game. But here's the thing. If Buffalo gets up early, they might blow the Raiders out. So that's what I'm thinking. All right, then next game, they have to play against the Steelers. This is on Sunday Night Football. Obviously, this game right here can definitely go either way. But some people might pick Pittsburgh to win because here's the thing. Pittsburgh actually has a better defense than the Raiders. But I know last year Pittsburgh beat them last year, and the Raiders blew that game. It was a low-scoring game, but I think it will be a low-scoring game once again. But since this game's in Las Vegas, I'm going with the Raiders here to win this game because I think the Raiders, are just – I just kind of feel like that the Raiders have the better offensive line, and they're better at running the football. Pittsburgh can't really run the ball really good. Pittsburgh always struggles to run the ball. Their offensive line, they struggle to block defensive lines. Sometimes the Steelers, whatever team who has a really good offensive line, they kind of struggle against. Any team that the Steelers play who has a really good defensive line, they struggle against. So I think the Raiders defense might have success here. I think that pass rush can definitely give Kenny Pickett and that Steelers offensive line issues. And I think, Jimmy G, he can do enough to make some plays and throw the ball through the air against the Steelers secondary. So, yeah. And I feel like that their O-line can do a good job, like controlling the Steelers pass rush, which that can put the Steelers defense in a bad position. So, yeah. But I think this game will be close once again, but I think the Raiders find a way to win that game at home. All right, next game, they got to play against the LA Chargers. Obviously, they'll split with the Chargers this year, so I'm going to say they lose the first game against the Chargers because LA, is always like a tough place to play at and all that. And, the Chargers, I like to say the Chargers are just a more talented team. I mean, they have a more talented defense than the Raiders, though. But so, yeah. And I feel like they have the better quarterback and they're at home. So, yeah. And I think the defense is going to, Brandon Staley's going to have a good game plan against Josh McDaniels' offense. And plus, Herbert, he should be able to at least like make some plays and throw the ball through the air against your secondary. He should be able to do that, especially with the weapons they have on offense. So, yeah. They have a good offensive and defensive line that can give the Raiders issues, maybe on defense and on offense as well. So, yeah, that's pretty much why I think the Chargers will lose the first game. Now, week 5, they have to play against the Green Bay Packers Monday Night Football. This is Davante Adams' revenge game. Now, this game right here can a little bit go either way because here's the thing. But it's weird to say that Green Bay has a better defense than the Raiders, though, because I think that's a game where I think Green Bay can definitely pull off a shocking win here because they have the better defense and they match up well with the Raiders pretty good. But if this game's in Green Bay, I might roll with the Packers. But I actually think this game will be super close and competitive. But I am going to take I'm going to take the Raiders to win the game because I just think the Raiders, can do enough offensively to move the ball against Green Bay's defense. I think their offensive line is going to have a good time, playing well against Green Bay's D-line, which that can put their defense in a bad position. And on top of that, I think the Raiders pass rush is going to give Jordan Love and that Packers offense a tough time. So I think the Raiders are going to control time possession and can secure the line of scrimmage. And Green Bay, I kind of feel like Green Bay, I just don't know if Green Bay is going to be able to do enough offensively to score some points because, their team is pretty young. I mean, because, they don't got no Aaron Rodgers. Even if it was Aaron Rodgers, I could definitely pick Green Bay. But since Aaron Rodgers is not in Green Bay, I'm picking the Raiders here because I just kind of feel like that the Packers, with the young talent they have, they got young talent they building upon. I mean, they got Christian Watson entering second year, Romeo Dewes entering second year, especially the rookies with Jaden Reed, Tucker Kraft, Luke Musgrave, and they still got Aaron Jones running back. So they got a pretty good young offense there, and they got a pretty good young receiving core there. But I think it's probably going to take some time to develop. It's probably going to take maybe a learning curve for everybody on that team to figure it out. So I feel like it's going to take some time here, but yeah. So they're just trying to figure it out over there. And on top of that, the Raiders are at home, and they just got the better quarterback. So, yeah. That's why I got the Raiders winning that game. All right, next game, week 6, they have to play versus the Patriots. Obviously, this is a game that can go a little bit either way. I want to go with the Raiders who are at home to win this game because the Patriots are coming to town. But I'm going to say the Patriots are going to win this game to get their revenge on them. Like, I just kind of feel like New England kind of really wants that revenge from last year where Jacoby Myers just handed the ball to Chandler Jones for that game-winning touchdown. But I don't think it's going to happen again because Jacoby Myers is on a new team right now. He's with the Raiders, which he's playing against his former team. So, yeah, on top of that, I think the Patriots had the better defense. I think they can do enough to, like, slow down the running game. And maybe they can, like, stop the pass because they have a good secondary that can really handle business against Devontae Adams and Hunter Renfrow. And I think they have a good enough offensive line that can really, like, control the Raiders' pass rush, that can put the Raiders' defense in a bad position because they know that your defense isn't good. So they should be able to move the ball against them and all that. So, yeah. So I think it will be close and competitive like last time, but I think the Patriots find a way to win that game. Next game against the Chicago Bears. Now, this is a game right here I call it a trap game because it can go either way because both their offenses are kind of bolstered up, but their defenses are a little sketchy. But I kind of call it a trap game for some reason. I don't really know because here's the thing. Usually the Raiders are really not good against mobile quarterbacks. Like, against mobile quarterbacks, the Raiders' defense always struggles against mobile quarterbacks. But I don't know if I can really think the Bears. I mean, that's a game where Chicago can win because they have the weapons on offense to move the ball against the Raiders' defense. And Justin Fields can, he can make some plays against your defense. But the Bears' offensive line is pretty young. The new improved offensive line is pretty young. And the defense is not really as good. But I think it will be a lot closer than we expected. But I'm going to go ahead and take just take, even though the games in Chicago doesn't matter, though, I know that Chicago's kind of a tough place to play at and all that. So even though the game's in Chicago, I don't think it really matters. So at the end of the day, I am going to take now. If I have to come back, I could come back to that one, but I don't know. But at the end of the day, I am going to take the Raiders to win this game on the road because I feel like Jimmy G return to Chicago is going to be very awesome to see. And I just kind of really feel like that the Bears, they don't really have the answers defensively, to cover Devontae Adams and Hunter Renfrow. So I feel like they won't have answers for them. I think Jimmy G can do enough against the Bears defense. He can do enough to throw the ball in the air against that Bears secondary, which is pretty young, which is not really good. And also they have the better old line and they're better at running the football as well. So yeah. And I think they have the better defensive line. So I think that pass rush is definitely going to give Justin Fields and that Bear offensive line some fits. So, yeah. And also the Raiders had the better coaching staff. And I just think they're just a more complete team. So, yeah. That's pretty much why I think the Raiders win, but I think it will be a close one. The next game, they got to play against the Lions. Lions on a Monday night. This is like the Monday night right before Halloween. Obviously, I think it will be a good game to see. But I am going to take the Lions here to win this game because I just kind of really feel like that the Lions, I just think the Lions are just a more complete team. And on top of that, I just really think they have the better defense than you guys. They have a better defensive line. I think they can give the Raiders offense some issues. And then they do have a really good talented secondary that can really handle business against the Raiders receivers. They have a good offensive line. They can be able to control their pass rush. And I think Jared Goff, he's good against bad defenses. So I think he can do enough to make enough plays against that defense. Like, he can find a way to throw the ball through the air against your secondary. So yeah, I mean, if this game was played in Las Vegas, I might go with the Raiders. But given that the game's in Detroit, I'm picking the Lions here because I think the Lions will be a good team this year and all that. So yeah, but I think this could definitely be a trap game. So we got to be careful with this game right here. So yeah, I think it will be close, but I am going to take the Lions to win this game at home on a Monday nighter. All right, so moving on to next game, they have to play at home against the Giants. And then week 10, they got to play back-to-back New York teams. They have to play against the Giants, and then they play against the Jets. Oops. Let's see. So they play against the Giants week 9, and then week 10 they play against Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. But I think between these games, I think they're going to at least win one of these games, but I don't think they're going to win both, in my opinion. So I think they're going to at least win one of these games because I don't think they're going to win both at the same time. But I don't think they're going to win both. So I'm just going to go ahead and just say the Raiders are going to beat the Giants at home and then lose to Aaron Rodgers and the Jets at home, because the reason why I think I got them beating the Giants here, because I just kind of really feel like that the Raiders can probably do enough offensively to move the ball against the Giants defense. And Josh McDaniels is really good against that scheme. I think their O-line can do a good job, blocking the Giants pass rush. And then I think the Raiders pass rush can do a good job, slowing down the run, giving Daniel Jones some fits. So yeah, I think they're going to control time possession in this game and keep Daniel Jones off the sideline. So I think that's pretty much why I think the Raiders win. But the only way the Raiders are going to win this game is that they need to find a way to shut down Waller. Because if they don't, then I think Darren Waller is going to tear the Raiders defense up. So I think they need to find their matchups, though. But I think it will be close game in a shootout. But I think the Raiders find a way to survive with the win here. And then week 10, the reason why I got them losing to the Jets is because I think the Jets are just a more talented team. They have a better quarterback. And they just have a better defense than the Raiders. Like, they have a better defense than the Raiders. I think the Jets, defense, I think they can match up well with the Raiders pretty good. They have a really good defensive line that can really, and I think they can do a good job, slowing down the Raiders' running game, because the Jets defense is really good at stopping the run. And I think they're going to give the Raiders offense and Jimmy G some fits. And then they have a grid secondary that can handle business against Devontae Adams and Hunter Renfrow. And also their offensive line is pretty good. So I think they can find a way to control the Raiders pass rush, where they can put the Raiders defense in a bad position. And Aaron Rodgers, he should be able to find a way to pick apart and make some plays, especially against that Raiders defense. He can throw the ball in the air against their secondary. And then, the Raiders don't really have the corners though to cover the Jets weaponry like Garrett Wilson, Allen Lazard, Mecole Hardman, Randall Cobb, CJ Uzomah, Tyler Conklin. Like those weapons on offense that they have, especially Breece Hall, those weapons that the Jets have on offense are going to be too much for the Raiders defense to handle. Especially Aaron Rodgers, he's going to be too much for your defense. So, yeah. So that's pretty much why I think the Jets win this game. I mean, I would not be shocked if the Raiders pull off the upset, but it's weird to say the Raiders have the better coaching, but because I know Josh McDaniel, I understand Josh McDaniel had success against his solid scheme, but I think he's a better coach than Saleh, but the Jets are a more talented team than the Raiders and have a better quarterback and a better defense. So, yeah, and your defense is not as good as theirs. So, I mean, the only way that the Raiders can win this game is that if they can control time possession and the offensive line can block their front and keep Rodgers off the field, then I think the Raiders have a chance to win this game. But I think, and also another way that they can win this game is that if the defense can at least slow down Aaron Rodgers and the Jets offense. So, yeah, but I'm just picking the Jets because they're just a better team than the Raiders. But I think it will be close, but I think the Jets find a way to win that game. Next game, Week 11, they have to play against the Miami Dolphins in Miami. I actually got the Dolphins winning this game because I just kind of feel like the Dolphins are the more complete team. And, they're at home. And on top of that, the Raiders don't really have any corners that's going to be able to. I don't think that their Raiders defense is going to be able to at least handle Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle because those guys are tough to cover, and you guys don't have the corners to cover those guys. But as long as Tua stays healthy, I think they can win this game with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. So, yeah. And I think Vic Fangio, he hasn't had success against his Raiders offensive scheme, but I think he's going to make a good game plan to figure out how to confuse the Raiders offense. I think the Dolphins pass rush is very solid. Maybe they find a way to at least give the Raiders offense and Jimmy G some fits. But I don't know if they can stop the run, but I think their pass defense improved a little bit, adding Jalen Ramsey. So maybe their secondary can find a way to handle business against the Raiders pass catching group to handle Devontae Adams and Hunter Renfrow. But I think both of their defenses are sketchy. But I like to say that the Dolphins defense have gotten better this offseason. I think Miami has a better defense than the Raiders, though. But I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be shocked if the Raiders pull off the upset. The only way they pull off the upset is that if they at least control time possession and then their offensive line block the Dolphins front and keep Tua off the field and all that. And then if their defense, finds a way to slow down Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. So, yeah. But I just don't think the Raiders are going to be able to do that. So, yeah. But that's why I think Miami wins this game. And on top of that, it will be close, but I think Miami can win the shootout. The next game, Week 12, they have to play versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Obviously, I'm going to say the Raiders are going to split with the Chiefs. So I'm going to say, they win the first game because they're at home. And the reason why I just got them, beating the Chiefs one time because, sometimes, it's a division rival and, the Raiders sometimes, the Chiefs sometimes lose some games like this. So, yeah, it's pretty much why. And I think, last year the Raiders almost beat them, in prime time, which they should have won. But I think in this game, I think the Raiders are going to find a way to pull it out. And then Week 16, they play a Chiefs. Then Week 16, and then they got to play the Chiefs again in Week 16 on Monday. Now, this is on Christmas. So, I think they split with the Chiefs. So, I think they drop a game right here. I mean, I just think the Chiefs are going to have more to play for this game. The Raiders might do too because the Raiders might be a team that could make the playoffs or they can barely miss it. But I can definitely see the Chiefs I can definitely see the Raiders easily getting swept by the Chiefs like they always do. And also, I feel like the Chiefs, they're just a more complete team and have the better quarterback, better coaching staff. They're at home. I mean, that's just pretty much why I think the Chiefs win at home, because Arrowhead's a tough out to play at. So then week 13, they're on the bye week. Then after the bye week, they had extra time to prepare and watch film, and they had extra time to rest. So next game, they have to play against the Minnesota Vikings. Now, this is a game that can go either way. Now, most people are kind of really picking Minnesota to win because they think Minnesota, could be a better team. But this is Brian Flores playing against Josh McDaniels, and he knows Josh McDaniels because he found a way that he finds a way that he shuts down McDaniels' offense. I think that's a game where Minnesota can win because the Raiders don't really have the corners to cover Justin Jefferson. So yeah. So maybe the Vikings have success moving the football against them. But if this game's in Minnesota, I might go with the Vikings here. But given that the game's in Las Vegas and it's kind of a tough outing, I am going to say that the Raiders are going to win this game here because I just think the Raiders can do enough offensively to move the ball against the Vikings defense. Because I don't think the Vikings do have the corners, like they used to. Like, I don't think they have the corners to cover Devontae Adams and Hunter Renfrow. I think Jimmy G can do enough here to make some plays here down the field, and he can find a way to at least throw the ball in the air against that Vikings secondary, which is completely overrated. So, yeah, I feel like they can move the ball on them. And I think their pass rush can do enough to at least slow down the Vikings offense, and give Kirk Cousins a tough time. Because I don't think the Vikings have a running game because they got rid of Dalvin Cook. So, yeah, I think the Raiders can do a good job stopping the run. But I think it's going to be close, and it could be a shootout. But I think the Raiders find a way to win this game here, maybe by a field goal. So, yeah, I think they can control time possession and keep Kirk Cousins off the field. So, yeah. So that's pretty much why. Yeah, that's pretty much why I think the Raiders win this game. And then next game, week 15, they have to play against the Chargers on a short week on Thursday Night Football. I think they split with the Chargers. So I give them a win here at home. The reason why I think they're gonna be extra motivated to play them because you lost to them early in the season. But I think the Raiders, find a way to. But I think the Raiders find a way to pull it out, and I think Jimmy G is gonna make some magic here. And we know Josh McDaniels had a good game plan against the Charger defense. I think he can do it again. Then week 17, they have to play against the Indianapolis Colts. That's another game that can go either way. Now, that's a game where I think the Raiders can definitely pull off because I think the Raiders are a better team than the Colts. I think they're a better team than the Colts, but I think the Colts are going to win this game, though. Obviously, I think. Well, I don't know. It could go either way, though, because last year, when these two teams played, the game was in Las Vegas, and Indy went to your stadium and beat them by a last-second field goal or touchdown. I don't remember. I think it was a defensive stop.
Yeah, I mean, he's only going to be the castle is only going to be open during the week. So yeah, we're not going to be there. So I'm just, but that's one thing I'm not looking forward to. I don't think so. I am not looking forward to seeing him because I already saw him before.
But you know what this is? that was my trap game of the week. I can definitely run back to it, but at the end of the day,
I hope they got him looking good because he likes you. So, girl,
but at the end of the day, I can definitely go with the Raiders here because I think the Colts defense is a little bit overrated. So I think the Raiders can move the ball against them. I think they're going to move the ball in this game, but yeah, I think it will be closer than we expected. But obviously, I am going to take the Colts to win this game here because even though I think the Raiders are a more complete team than them, I kind of have a feeling that the Colts are going to win this game because I feel like that the Colts, can do enough to move the ball against your defense. I think Anthony Richardson has the makings, and he has a good arm, and I think he can make enough throws against their defense. And I think they can run the ball on them, knowing that the Raiders defense, is not good against the run. So, yeah. So that's pretty much why I think the Colts win, but I think it will be a lot closer than we expected. All right, then last game, week 18, they play against the Broncos. Obviously, I want to say they're going to split with Denver, but since they're at home, I'm going to say they sweep the season series here and just beat the Broncos because I think they're going to sweep the season series because I just don't know if I can trust Denver to beat the Raiders, though, because they have proved to me that they cannot beat the Raiders, though. But I just need to see it, though, before I believe it. I need to see it happening before I believe it. So, yeah, that's pretty much why. And plus, the Raiders are at home. They have the better quarterback. And I also like their offensive talent more than the Broncos. So, yeah, I think – but in my opinion, I think Sean Payton is kind of a better coach than Josh McDaniels. But I think the Raiders are going to win this game because they're at home, and I think Jimmy G is going to make some magic here. So, that's pretty much why. So, overall, I have the Raiders – So overall, I have the Raiders going 9-8, which that's pretty much optimistic. I can see them being as good as maybe a 10-7, 11-6, depending on how well this defense play. But when you look at the schedule, it's pretty tough though, because they have to play the best division in the AFC East, which has to be the Bills, the Dolphins, the Jets, and the Patriots. They play the Packers, the Lions, the Vikings, and the Bears. They play the Broncos twice. They play the Steelers. They play the Chiefs. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. I mean, looking at the schedule, this is kind of like a hard schedule. So I think the Raiders can be somewhere from like 7 to 9 wins. I'm probably going with 9 here because I just kind of really feel like adding Jimmy G. Because I guess kind of feel like Jimmy G was a huge upgrade at quarterback. Because I think in my opinion, I think Jimmy G is an upgrade over Derek Carr. But I just had him at 9-8. But I just kind of felt the Raiders are probably going to take a little bit of a step forward. But I hope they prove me wrong. But yeah, but I feel like 4-2 in division, 5-7 in the conference, 7-2 at home, and 2-6 away is pretty decent though. But I kind of really feel like that they have a really low floor at maybe like 5-12, 6-11. If Jimmy G, like misses a couple games and then defense, doesn't play well, and then the defense, doesn't get healthy, and then the offense does not get healthy. But I think their ceiling is probably going to be like 11 wins this year. maybe 10 or 11 wins this year if, you know, Jimmy G, you know, can stay healthy for all 17 games, and then the offense can break out, and then the defense, you know, start to play at a high level. So, yeah, that's how I see it. But I just have questions about Jimmy G's health. Like, I don't really know if he's going to be that great. I don't know if he's going to be the same player like he was a couple years ago. So that could be the question. But I feel like the offense and the offensive line is pretty good. The coaching is pretty good, but it could be a question here. But I have some questions on the defense. Like, how good will the defense be? Will the defense do enough here? Like, will the defense carry them in the playoffs though? But I think their defensive line is pretty solid though. But I kind of feel like the whole defense is not really good enough to carry a team. That's how I feel about it. So, yeah, I just hope the Raiders prove me wrong, though. So, yeah. So, I can definitely see them winning one more game, but I would not be shocked if they made the – and also, I wouldn't be shocked if they really sneaked into the playoffs, because they could definitely make that jump to playoff territory, but I wouldn't be shocked if they did. So, I kind of feel like in some of these games, if Jimmy G's hurt, they could be starting Jarrett Stidham. Like, we don't really know. So, yeah. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Do you think I'm right? Like, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. It's Emmanuel Jones, big fan. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys later. Peace.